Okay, we are now going to question number 2. Question number 2. Does it not require faith to believe that there is no God? Why or why not? Now, let's Dr. Family to this time.
Does it require faith to believe that there is no God? Why or why not? My answer is yes. Faith is required to hold any worldview, including theism or atheism. There is a measure of faith in both. The questions that we have to ask is that, are they sure that there is no God? Is an atheist sure that there is no God? Do they possess exhaustive information on the question of God? Have they investigated every argument and evidence for the existence of God? Can they answer every objection to atheism? Carl Sagan said, "The cosmos is all there is, or ever was, or ever will be." The Bible teaches ex nihilo, that God created something out of nothing. I've been asked many times, did you see that? And I go, no, I did not. And my question back to them is, did Carl Sagan travel the universe all the way back through uniformity to know that that's all there ever was, is, and will be? No, we have limited knowledge as finite creatures on this planet. And so as a result of that, we do have a certain amount of evidence, and beyond the evidence, if you embrace something, there's that measure of faith. That it takes, I believe it takes more faith to believe that there is not a God than it does to believe that there is a God, because I think the evidence is stacked on the side of Christianity. How do we know that? We operate in the realm of probability, just like Christians when we say God exists. So, the question is, who has more evidence for their conclusion, worldview? The answer is, I believe, Christians, therefore, have more evidence, and therefore, the result is atheists have to have more faith. Because atheism is irrational, it lacks evidence, and it has a rebellious nature at its root. It's irrational because it believes that something came from nothing. Areas knowledge of empirical data, forensic, and philosophical, those 3 areas help us to shape our worldview. Empirical verifiability. Empirical verifiability is what they say. Truth claim is abstract reasoning such as mathematical equations or definitions. 2 + 2 = 4, or triangles have 3 sides. That's empirical verifiability. But truth claims can be verified empirically through one or more of the 5 senses. So where we separate the supernatural from the natural is that this empirical data developed by David Hume and Immanuel Kant said that these are the only 2 criteria that we can judge something a fact. Now, I don't know where these 2 men got their credentials that they are responsible for what the whole universe believes, but they took that upon themselves, and therefore have claimed high ground intellectually. And my point is, I don't think that a creature that believes they are the result of a blind chance, and that is nothing more than a chemical reaction, has the skills to make a competent decision. I believe it takes a little more to do that. So, as a result of Kant, and what we call DNA, how do I do it? Somebody mind me? 1 minute. All right. For instance, there are known absolutes. They say there are no absolutes. That is an absolute. When you say there are no absolutes, or there's no absolute truth, you've just declared one. And for instance, let's take DNA, which is simple complexity, or irreducible complexity. There's good science, there's bad science. Irreducible complexity is all about reality for us, that you cannot evolve a cell. It has to be a cell at one time simultaneously. There's no doubt of that. Simple complexity, the Big Bang taking place, and the coming of space, time, and matter all begin to take place. So tonight we're also going to be looking at the fact that there is good science. Theism is for that, but there's bad science as well. Thank you.
require faith to be an atheist? Well, yes and no, but it comes with a qualifier. Now, I've argued even with atheists that they're using the word faith in a connotation of confidence. Yes, I have faith. I have faith in the scientific method. I have faith that with a lot of experiment and a lot of investigation that we will find more answers and more truths. But the qualifier is that this faith is not blind. It's based on past practices. I have no idea if the sun will come up again tomorrow, but based on the last millions of years and it happening every day, I have faith that it will, confidence that it will. But as far as faith being an atheist, I don't agree with the idea that Mr. Gayton has proposed. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. No, I have not answered every question and looked behind every corner for God. That and the big difference between atheism and agnosticism is that agnosticism would say that I know for sure that there is no God. I'm 99% agnostic. But I have to leave that one small chance that I'm wrong. As an atheist, I'm only making a statement that I do not believe. Based on everything that I've seen, everything that I've read and experienced, I do not believe. It goes no further than that. It is not a religion. There is no creed. Not all atheists think alike. There's no afterlife for us. There's no real rules as far as that goes, other than what we decide as a society. So, at that, yes, I do agree that there is a certain amount of faith to be an atheist. However, I will state that that is not blind faith. I will not believe something that does not fit my personal sense of reason unless it can be demonstrated to me. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Pam. I wanted to mention, too, that in the area of science, oceanography, electromagnetics, dynamics, astronomy, chemistry, thermodynamics, bacteriology, biology, and taxonomy, all those disciplines of science were discovered and purported by theists, people that believed in God. They believed God did it, they just wanted to see how it works. And the other point that I want to make is that there's 5 reasons why secular humanism, which does, in my opinion, have a creed. It's called the Humanist Manifesto. I happen to know one of Dr. Paul Kurtz, who passed away, who chaired the philosophy department at University of Buffalo, where I was an adjunct professor, and they produced Humanist Manifesto 1 and 2, which is their creed. One of the lines says, no deity will save us, we must save ourselves. But 5 reasons materialism is not reasonable and impossible. The law of specificity cannot be explained by non-intelligible natural laws. And last of all testimonies of people who had spiritual experiences were Kepler, Newton, and Pascal. If materialism is true, then reason itself is impossible.
At this moment, we're moving on to question number 3. Question 3. Does it matter if the Bible is valid? And this time we will start with Mrs. McKinney.
Does it matter that the Bible is valid? Well, yes, it does matter, especially when it affects so many people in so many ways. Does it matter to me personally? Not really. But when an organization such as different churches have so much power and have the ability to indoctrinate young children into this belief system, and automatically tell them to even doubt it is a sin worthy of eternal punishment, yes, I do think that we need to validate the Bible. And I think that hopefully that I don't think we could do it this evening with some of these young minds in the audience. I hope that eventually we won't be too far from taking this religion and the other modern religions and putting them into the same bin as the myths of old. So yes, it does matter that we validate the Bible. And again, I'm going to keep real short answers. I apologize. My iPad broke and I'm using my niece's little tool. I don't know how to use it. Yes.
Oh no.
Thank you.
Always keep a hard copy. Thank you, Ken. Does it matter if the Bible is valid? As Ken stated, not personally to him, but personally to me, it does. As I started in my opening statement, I became a Christian long before I had personally read the Bible, learned any philosophy or anything like that, worldviews, didn't even know what those issues were. I had an encounter with Christ that has changed my life since August 19, 1973 to this day. That the reality of the God of Scripture, I met him. I had my Damascus Road experience. And the one thing in life that no one can take away from you is your personal, subjective experience. It's a real thing. But I do admit that the Bible is filled with paradox and mystery, but not contradictions. Yes, it matters, and is it valid? It matters on many levels. Now, I agree with Ken that there are a lot of religious groups that tell their young people, you better believe this, and if you doubt it, you're going to hell. I think that's a terrible thing. I have several students here tonight, and they know that that's not what I teach them. They know that they're taught to be critical thinkers, to weigh all the opinions, look at all the views, pay attention, make sure you understand what everybody teaches, look at their presuppositions, look at their epistemology, look at their track record, look at their experience, and reach your own understanding, your own position. Because there is such a thing as intellectual integrity. And because God is a rational being and gave us the ability to rationalize, then we ought to be rational and reasonable in the things we do. But does it matter that the Bible is valid? On many levels. First of all, it is the most popular and criticized book in human history. And as Ken mentioned, atheists that have been persecuted and suffering, untold millions of Christians alone in church history, as you study, have laid down their life for the truth. In fact, as one man said, you can't begin to live until you found something worth dying for. And that's the reality of life. All of us have to discover something that we draw a line in the sand and say, here I will stand, here I will. Also, the Bible is the most authentic, self-authenticating religious book in the world. And what I mean by that, all the other religions, this book, hundreds of years, or 1,000 years before an event took place, a prophet prophesied it in past history. It was recorded. And then later on in history, it happened, and you got to check the prophecy against the actual historical event. And not one prophecy from the Old Testament that was fulfilled in that time or New Testament time has ever fallen short of being accurate, and because it is a historical, true event. And if Christianity is true, then all other religions are false. It is not true millions of people have reported a lie. And if it's not true, then our faith is in vain. That's what the Apostle Paul says. It has proven to produce the greatest guide for individuals and for society. America can be great today because it was founded on a Judeo-Christian ethic that makes room for atheists and all other people to have freedom here, but it's based on a Judeo-Christian ethic that understood all men and women are made in the image of God, and if God doesn't violate your free will, no one should violate anybody's belief. I celebrate everybody's right to believe what they choose, and I call that liberty. Thank you.
Okay, at this point we move on to question number 4. Is the Bible valid in terms of its account of miracles?